Creativity has the power to transform the places that you call home, and that is essential work. I'm sure that all of us have little things, or maybe really big things, that we wish would be different about the places that we live. And maybe we feel overwhelmed about our inability to do anything about it. We feel like the problems are too big. But today, I believe this is true, that creativity can transform the world around us. For me, that big problem wasn't just a pothole in the street. It wasn't just a rule or a regulation. It was the very ethos of how the world sees and perceives the place that I call home, Orlando. In 2017, 72 million visitors came to Central Florida to experience our community, and they experienced this. A very small piece of how our city is defined. And I'm an annual pass holder. I'm all for it. There's some wonderful things about our themed entertainment. But for those of us who call Central Florida home, we know it to be so much more. And we care about seeing those things platformed, and I care about seeing those things platformed. And not only in the eyes of the visitors who come to Central Florida, but the people who call Central Florida home. Sometimes it just feels like we have such a transient population that people are reluctant to plant roots deeply and call this the place that they champion as their home. And so in 2012, I decided to do something about it by calling a bunch of my creative friends, musicians, and ask them, hey, would you come out and play your instrument on a street corner? Or dancer friends, would you come out and just perform on a street corner? And every day during the month of October in 2012, we just had a little performance happening around the streets and public spaces of downtown Orlando. In 2013, we decided to do it again. We condensed it all down to one day, and we had some momentum building from artists, and we had a couple dozen people there. This is one of the business plazas downtown, and we kept doing it. 2014, 2015, 2016, that same business plaza, we had experienced such massive and exciting growth. And this past weekend, in October of 2018, we platformed more than 1,000 artists and performers for an audience of 40,000 people in the streets and public spaces of downtown Orlando. And it's beautiful to see people coming together and valuing who we are, the depths of who we are, and having meaningful shared experiences in the public spaces of our city. And experiences that audiences can't have anywhere else in the world, whether that's a Cirque du Soleil performer hanging from a crane in the middle of Orange Avenue, the main thoroughfare of our city, while singers sing live from balconies close by, or the 100-piece Central Florida Community Arts Orchestra on 5 stages so that the audience can stand among the sections of the orchestra for a truly immersive orchestral experience. Or a ballet performance right in the middle of the urban center, or our performers having a lot of fun with smoke and fire in the outdoor spaces of our city, creating intensely beautiful moments. And for us, we have a big vision of a 4-day global destination performing and interactive arts event that happens in the streets and public spaces of our city by 2020, welcoming 100,000 guests, with the big vision of transforming the way people around the world see and perceive our city, but also helping create a greater sense of connectedness for those of us who call Central Florida home. And along the way, we've learned a lot about the power of creativity. And today I want to talk about 4 ways creativity helps us transform the places we call home. And I've been talking about music, and I've been talking about dance, and those are really wonderful forms of creativity. But today I want to talk to you about a creative mindset, thinking like an artist, and thinking creatively about the problems that you face every day and the things that you want to change about the place that you call home. The first of those is that creativity helps us overcome despair. It's so easy for us to get caught in the cycle of our own experience and allow our past experiences to shape our expectations of the future. But creativity awakens us from the expectations that come from the patterns of the past and allows us to start dreaming with hope. And once we can break the cycle of our negative mindset that's based in the negative experiences of our past, it frees us into dreaming creatively about what could be. And when we begin doing that, it leads us to the second idea, that creativity reforms our expectations. Once we break free from the negative cycles of our past and we begin dreaming, it moves us into a place of beginning to expect radically different outcomes from our actions every day. It sets us on a course of positive change, and it makes us believe that we actually have influence over the things that are happening around us. For me, when I stepped out of that place of despair, just saying, this is what I've experienced of our city, or this is the way people see it around the world, I moved into a new place of walking around and gathering inspiration everywhere about what could be. In 2009, I went to Valencia, Spain, and they have this festival there every spring called Las Fallas. And they build the city, the residents of the city, all over the city build hundreds of statues. The main one in the center square is about 90 feet tall. And in beautiful fashion, the last day of the festival, they set them all on fire. And it's an amazing experience. The city of Valencia estimates that more than 1 million people come together for this really amazing, yet maybe equally bizarre shared experiences in the streets and public spaces of Valencia every spring. And there I am standing in the heat of 130-foot flames flying into the air, thinking, we don't do this in America. We haven't developed an aesthetic and a value for connecting around meaningful shared experiences in the public spaces of our city. And it birthed this new expectation. Hey, move away from the negative cycles and ways of thinking of the past. Begin dreaming about what could be. And in that, we moved into this new phase that creativity makes our dreams tangible. So we had this idea, let's call friends and just ask them to come out and do stuff. We didn't have sound, we didn't have lights, we didn't have permits, we didn't have a bit of permission. And of course we had $0. But I just said, come out and do something. This is one of those performances the very first year, 2 dancers just there on a street corner, and you can see people just standing around taking pictures because it was different. People were encountering something creative simply because it was a group of people who were doing what they could with what they had today, with an expectation that starting small is the only place that we can start sometimes. And now, on a whim, that very same year, I called the friends down at Cirque du Soleil. I didn't know anybody there. I call them friends now, but I just on a whim called them and said, hey, we're doing this thing every day during the month of October this year in 2012. Would you want to do something? The last Friday of the month, they pull up a big bus in front of Orlando City Hall, and more than 24 performers spill out into City Hall Plaza, and more than 1,000 people came to experience that performance that day. And it showed that there was a community of people who were hungry for meaningful experiences and to connect around them. And now tens of thousands of people from all walks of life, of all ages and all backgrounds join us the third weekend of October as we put together this festival, Immerse, in the streets and public spaces of downtown Orlando. And it's not just about immersing people in performance. It's about connecting them. Audience members to artists, artists to one another, audience members to one another around unusual experiences, and ultimately, both artists and audience members to the physical spaces of our city, radically transforming the way they see it and perceive it. And so we free ourselves from the thoughts and mindsets of the past. We begin expecting new things. We begin bringing those dreams to life. And ultimately, as we manifest those dreams by doing what we can with what we have, creativity manifests a brand new reality. Consistent creative work in a common direction has an overall net positive effect on the world around us. There have been amazing days in this past weekend as tens of thousands of people smiled and laughed and danced in the streets. I was running from place to place, putting out fires and solving problems. And there have been days where I've woken before my alarm because I was so full of anxiety. And there are times where I don't know how what we're dreaming about will ever come to life. And there are problems along the way, but consistent work in a common direction over the long haul has had a consistent net positive effect. As we continue to push through the rough days, we see beautiful things begin to happen as the world around us transforms. And this isn't just nice stuff. If this was nice stuff and only nice stuff, I would have given up a long time ago because frankly, it's not worth it. But this is essential. Our ability to transform the world around us through creativity is essential. Why? Because we as human beings have lived in communities and traveled as tribes for the whole of our human existence. And a 2011 Cornell University study reports that most American adults don't have more than 2 people in whom they feel comfortable confiding. A Brigham Young University study revealed that personal relationships and social integration are 2 key indicators of longevity. Our ability to connect with one another and create a sense of home in our cities and in our communities isn't just nice. It is essential for our lives, and it is essential for our ability to thrive. So let's do it.